This edition of iItaly New York is brought to you by...
L'energia non si ferma. Mai. L'energia crea. Si trasforma. Diventa un'idea per generare nuova energia. Diamo all'energia un'energia nuova.
So what are we going to do at Expo? We'll get to know more than 140 countries and Italian excellence all in one place. We'll discover the world's biggest restaurant. We'll go to the shopping supermarket of the future. At Expo, we'll ask a lot of questions and get the answers from the world's finest minds. We'll take part in shows in a theater under the stars. And we'll discover that food is joy. Because food is life. Expo Milano 2015. The grand worldwide food event is coming. So have you got your ticket?
On this week's episode, Italian food at its best. A day with Johnny Meatballs. In search of Italian pizza with Riccardo Costa. Spaghetti alla chitarra at SD26. Meet Antonio Fiorentino at Monteleone Bakery. Pleasure activist Fred Plotkin speaking about Frutta. Fred Gardaphe's book review, Eat Now, Talk Later, by James Vescovi. And now let's start with Johnny Meatballs.
My name's Johnny Meatballs. I'm from Woodridge, New Jersey, and I'm a street vendor. I sell meatballs all around Jersey. I grew up in an Italian-American household. My grandmother, my mother, it was always meatballs every Sunday. And it kind of was a natural thing for me to sell meatballs because that's what I knew best. Okay, got your meatball. You want any ricotta? No? Just plain? There you go, my big boy. You want something to drink? Okay. So my recipe for my meatballs, it's kind of a combination of my both grandmothers and my mom's. And I got my own little twists in there, my own little touches. I gotta type something in the office, okay, Chris? You eat your meatballs. I started my Johnny Meatballs business right around 2008. Right around that period, it was kind of a meatball explosion in America. Right after, cupcakes and burgers came the whole meatball thing. There were quite a few meatball cooks popping up and meatball restaurants, of course, Meatball Shop in New York City. One of my first gigs was actually in Philadelphia. I had a little meatball and gravy competition with a gal by the name of Lorraine. She had written a book called Gravy Wars. And this was the first time I was out in the streets with the public and having the public try my food in that way. And from there, I fell in love with the idea of being out in the streets. I think that when you are a street vendor selling your food outside, in the elements, rain, snow, you name it, that's really the best way to connect with your public, with the people. And every time folks come to my stand, I want to give them an experience, like they're home with their family, feeling very comfortable. That's what it's all about to me. There has to be something that sets you apart from everyone else. So for me, it was a natural thing to create a character. And that's what Johnny Meatballs is. It's a character and it's a brand. And it comes with t-shirts that say "Got Balls" on them, funny phrases like that, and Meatball King of New Jersey. I make signs and banners. I do a lot of my marketing via Facebook and Twitter and YouTube.
tastes like a soup. Every Sunday's when I make yummy meatballs, oh so nice. Take a gravy with braciole and a garlic and a spice. Hey, I'm making meatballs over here, over here.
I have a lot of haters, as I call them, and stalkers, and people that want to keep me down and say bad things about me, because what happened was I received a nice level of notoriety by going on to a reality show on VH1 made by the producers of Jersey Shore. So right off the bat, people had preconceived notions about me that I was this wild kind of party animal that was promiscuous and violent and engaged in not so wholesome behavior. The idea that all young Italian Americans are these crazy people, it's not true. You take a group of young people and put them in a shore house down the Jersey Shore, pay their way, and give them booze and girls and whatever. It's gonna be a wild time. It doesn't matter if it's Italian American or Puerto Rican, Irish, Greek, Japanese, it doesn't matter. I am here to kind of change that perception. I'm not a young kid, but I'm not an old man either. I'm kind of like in the middle. I want to be the guy to bridge the gap between the real old generation and the young generation and kind of represent that everyman, that regular Joe.
Who doesn't love pizzas? Pizza originally comes from the Greeks. We actually used to do a flat bread. And then the Neapolitan in the 18th century changed it, adding the tomatoes they just discovered from America. There are many few types of pizza, like Romana pizza, Sicilian pizza, and Neapolitan pizza. Today we're gonna discover the Neapolitan pizza, which is the original one. So Georgia, tell us a little bit more how you make your pizza. Why is it different from your father, or if it's the same, or was he a good teacher for you?
Yes, but it's just the same, just like my finger is a little bit small than my father's. Every single pizza is different, so you make something special for the customer.
Emily's American and she has a passion making pizza, which is kind of like unique.
Yes.
How like your passion for pizza was born?
You know, it's just such a simple food, and pizza especially, drawing on the wood-fired oven is such an incredible primal tool. There's just such a lasting tradition there that's pretty incredible, and you're just so naturally drawn to it.
Takeaway wasn't invented by the American, but by Neapolitan, and this is the old form, how you carry the pizza around, right?
Yes, of course. They put like the pizza like that, and down it was like wood, something like that, and they put the pizza ready cut, close it, and go around to in the street and sell the pizza.
Is that heavy? Let's see. Alessandro is a general manager of Pizza Arte. Pizza Arte is kind of interesting name for pizza. Pizza and art. Why?
Basically, the idea is to combine art and food in a very laid-back environment, and that's why we do exhibition every 2 months. We'll bring in different artists that gives a different feeling and energy to the room.
And also, I heard that you're a team of people from Campania, so like all around the region, they've created the Neapolitan pizza.
Yes, we are all from the Campania region, from Avellino, Napoli, Capri. Comes from the roots, from things that we know since we were little kids. It's easier for us to promote it and to be passionate about it.
Pizza is amore, pizza is love, pizza puts people together, but not just in Manhattan, but also in Brooklyn. Let's go to Williamsburg. Giulio is the owner and pizza maker of Forcella restaurant, which are in Brooklyn as well as Manhattan on Bowery and Park Avenue. And your specialty is making like fried pizza.
Yeah, that's what make us famous. So it's principally a fried dough, and then it's topped and sauced as a regular margherita and finished in the wood-fired oven.
How would you describe the taste of like a fried pizza versus the regular pizza?
Well, the dough, for the effect of the caramelization of the sugar of the flour, will taste a little bit sweeter, just like a zeppole, but it's gonna be so a combination of the sweet of the like zeppole-like dough and the saltiness and flavor of mozzarella, tomato, and basil on top of it. So it's really good.
Very, very good. How many pizza did you try? How about the Neapolitan pizza? Well, today I had plenty, and we learned something more about the pizza, the mozzarella, the dough, the levitation, and the oven. Did I make you hungry?
Spaghetti alla chitarra, served with tomato sauce and basil, a very traditional dish. And of course we're using the pizza device to make the pasta, and it does look like a chitarra.
Hi, I'm Michele Scicolone.
And I'm Charles Scicolone.
And today we're having fun. We're eating in the kitchen while Chef Matteo Bergamini prepares our lunch. And our dish today is spaghetti alla chitarra, which is with a delicious fresh tomato sauce. Now, spaghetti alla chitarra is an egg pasta from the Abruzzo region of Italy. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, Chef.
And it's made on a device called a chitarra, traditionally. And a chitarra is like an open wooden box with strings across it. And the way you make it is you take a sheet of pasta dough, you lay it across the strings, and then you strum the chitarra to get the pieces to fall through. And you have this delicious square-shaped spaghetti. Now, Charles has some delicious wine lined up for this, I'm sure.
Yes, I do, Michele. The wine that would go best with this is a Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, which comes from Abruzzo, which is in the central eastern part of the Italian peninsula. The grape is also grown throughout the central part of Italy, and some of it is also grown in the south. However, we should not confuse this grape with a wine by the same name almost, which is Vino Nobile del Montepulciano. Montepulciano is a city in Tuscany, and Vino Nobile del Montepulciano is made from a clone of Sangiovese and other grapes. Montepulciano is a wine which has a deep purple color to it. It has very good fruit flavors, blueberry, blackberry, and also has a hint of spice and pepper. And since this dish is from Abruzzi and so is the wine, I think they would make a perfect combination.
I can't wait to try it.
Let's taste the wine. Very nice.
Lovely. And now for some of our spaghetti alla chitarra.
This just looks wonderful together.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, and it's cooked just perfectly, too.
Yes, it is.
I've got to get that all wound up. That is so good.
Perfectly al dente also, which is a wonderful, wonderful dish. the flavors go. You should taste it again with the wine.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
And you get a little bit of the cheese on top,
Fantastic
the sweet tomato. Well, ciao. Great to see you again.
Ciao.
Hi, my name is Antonio Fiorentino. I come from Agrigento, Sicily, and I've been pastry chef for almost 40 years. My uncle used to own a bakery in Sicily, my town. So since I was a little kid, I always liked this type of work, especially when I see all the other pastry chefs decorate cakes, the marzipan fruit, everything by hand painting. When I was 16 years old, my father and my mother, we all came here in New York, Brooklyn, and I went to school for a year, and then I started working in a pastry shop in Brooklyn in 86th Street. And since then, this is my trade. What I'm trying to do to keep the tradition, to keep all the recipe the way the old pastry chef always said, the way God made, that's it. And maybe if I want to do something new, maybe I make a cake, I make a different shape, different flavor, this is it. I know this is a trade that you have to like in order to do it. So lucky my son, he likes it, and maybe one day he's going to take my place. We're going to prepare a torta al caffè. It means cake with coffee cream. It's not a Sicilian cake, but it's a cake that starting from Campania to the Sicily, they make it. I take the cake, a white sponge cake, I cut it in 2 pieces. I fill with the coffee cream that I made, a base of whipped cream, custard, and rimborso di caffè. It means I put a little bit very strong coffee. I'm gonna put the cream in between the cake, and I'm gonna also soak the top with espresso and a little bit of coffee liquor. And I'm gonna finish the cake with the same cream that I make from the inside. I'm gonna put some chocolate sprinkles as a decoration, and I'm gonna put some coffee beans also as a decoration. This is it. When the cake is ready, you can let it stay the cake for about an hour, like this. Everything gets together, all the flavors, they married, and then you can have a nice piece and enjoy next to a nice espresso.
Today's word is frutta, which means fruit. And I guess my major discovery when we first went to Italy almost 40 years ago was how amazing the fruit was. It still is, but I remember that the first time I tasted fruits in Italy, whether they were blood oranges from Sicily, incredible pears from Piemonte, beautiful Moscato grapes that came from Puglia. Just about all the fruit I had in Italy was explosive. It was amazing. I came to really understand what fruit is. And then I remember that the first time I was in a trattoria in Rome, The waiter was about 11 years old. He spoke very good English, much better than my Italian at the time. And he said, after a wonderful meal, "For dessert, we have fruit." And I realized that the English language presents all kinds of challenges to Italians that we foreigners do not have in Italy, because Italian basically sounds the way it's written. So, frutta, with 2 T's. And there's an expression in Italy, sono alla frutta, which means I'm at the end, I'm at my end, I'm at the end of my tether. But that's because the classic ending to an Italian meal is fruit. And another wonderful thing that I love in Italy that we should honor here is seasonality. Now we all talk about seasonality in our food and locavorism and all that, but in Italy you ate the fruit that presented itself at given times. And in Italy there's a tradition, a wonderful tradition. The first time you eat a fruit in a season, you say a little prayer, whether it's a prayer of thank you or a prayer for an excellent harvest, but it's a recognition that every year, if nature is minded properly, the fruit comes back. And this is a wonderful thing in Italy, where people are still more connected to the land than people are in most of the world. You go to markets in much of the country, and just outside of town, local fruit grows. And Italians are what I call culinary geographers. That means that they know that the best pears might be from Ferrara, that the best cherries might be from Vignola in Emilia-Romagna. And if you know that, then you look forward to it, and you honor geography, you honor nature, and you are alla frutta.
Eat now, talk later. That's what James Vescovi's grandmother used to tell him when he was sitting down at the table. And at that table, James listened to a lot of stories. His collection, Eat Now, Talk Later, 52 true tales of family, feasting, and the American dream, is an interesting surprise. Vescovi is a graduate of Columbia University. His writing has appeared in places like the New York Times, Creative Nonfiction, Georgetown Review, and Calliope. He's also co-author of the USS Essex and the Birth of the American Navy. So he's got some good writing background to him. And he applies it. This writing is absolutely wonderful in terms of ease of access and flow. Vescovi tells 52 different stories, primarily of Tony and Desolina, his grandparents, Antonino and Desolino, who came from a northern Italian village outside of Milan to the United States, like many other immigrants. And again, when you read these stories, you'll think about your own grandparents and great-grandparents' experiences. The book is divided into La Sagra, which is kind of like, you know, the sacred aspect of it. It's like the origins of the family in Italy. Stati Uniti is the section in which he tells stories of coming to the United States. Semplicità is the kind of life, the simplicity of the life that the family led. They didn't really aspire to many things or other than raising their family, making a living. Si ricordiamo is a section that deals with stories that people are telling about what it was like in the old country and so on. Stare per finire is, you know, they're getting ready to end their lives, Antonino and Desolino, and what it's like, the troubles of getting older. It's got this kind of sense of rising action, falling action, and I think really pulls it together as a memoir. It's not just some guy telling us about his family. Vescovi puts some pictures in the back of the book in a section he calls scrapbook, and he even throws in a couple of recipes, although I have to say that the recipes look a little complicated to me, and I'm someone who loves to cook, but if you follow them, you might end up eating the wonderful tortellini in brodo that his grandmother used to make. Whether you do that or not, whether you follow recipes or not, I think following the stories will be a wonderful way of paying attention to the past so that it matters to the present. It's James Vescovi's Eat Now, Talk Later.
In next week's episode, Italian food at its best. Iachi's hands-on pasta, lessons with Rana. Back to school with Lidia Bastianic at Scuola di Italia Marconi. Daryl and Rosanna, delicious Italian meatballs. A special day at the Calavita Center for Italian Food and Wine.
This edition of iItaly TV was brought to you by Colavita Extra Virgin Olive Oil, and Cheerio chopped tomatoes.